Hello everybody and welcome back to the Kamidogu podcast. I am Christopher Beljanovsky, and joining me as always is the man, the myth, the legend, Toasty.
Toasty!
So glad to be with you once again for what is set to be an incredibly exciting episode. If you're new here, please take a moment to hit follow or subscribe wherever you watch or listen to the podcast. Today's special will feature a number of incredible photographs from the set of the cancelled Mortal Kombat X Generations. So while you can enjoy this episode on audio platforms, we highly recommend heading over to our YouTube channel where you can check them out in all of their high resolution, juicy goodness. With that being said, Toasty, take it away.
My friends, this feature today is something very unique and important to us at Kamidogu. For all the Mortal Kombat fans out there who really had a passion for the short series Mortal Kombat Legacy, the rumored Legacy 3 was long awaited and people were insanely excited to feast their eyes on what was next in the series. Some photos were released very early of Casper Van Dien in training for the show, and so people had their hopes up that some good news was just around the corner. Time passed, and it ended up they wanted to do something a little different this time around. The project would be renamed Mortal Kombat X Generations. It was unexpected for some, but many became even more curious as to what exactly it had to do with the video game. A lot of great people put their hearts into this project with a stunning cast, even Hiroyuki Tagawa returning as Shang Tsung. People were jumping off their seats in anticipation. Garrett Warren directed this feature very closely with cinematographer Nathan Haugaard. Nathan has gone on to work on such massive names as the Avatar movies and even Alita Battle Angel. We are truly delighted to be joined by Nathan on today's special. He has a lot of experience under his belt, and he has been generous enough to provide us with some very rare images, as Chris has pointed out. This will surely keep you at the edge of your seat. So, Mortal Kombat fans, hold on tight and prepare yourself for an incredible episode today. You're going to see a lot of new things, so I hope you thoroughly enjoy this show. Let's now switch over to today's interview. Nathan, it's so good to have you here. Mortal Kombat plays such a huge role in our lives, and one of my favorite things about the franchise are simply the rich characters inside this grand story. To simply see them on other mediums besides video games really does bring a smile to our faces. Mortal Kombat X Generations was easily one of the most anticipated shows, period. To have you here today and discuss some of the stuff that went on with the show is really a big deal. It gives me, Christopher, and a lot of the fans joy to hear the collaboration on this project and a lot of the amazing talent that was injected into it. Thank you so very much for joining us today.
Oh man, thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
So to start off today, Nathan, tell our audiences the process of what you go through in your career throughout the film industry. What does your job typically entail?
Sure thing. I am a cinematographer. So it's like kind of you could interchange cinematographer, director of photography. I like cinematographer because I'm a camera nerd and I know the origin. So it comes from Latin. It means writer of light. So it's pretty cool to get a script, to read a script and think about like, okay, cool, here's some text. And it's my job to become a visual ambassador for the text. So how do I take these words and make them come to life? How do I create a space where these performers, can deeply inhabit this? So you've got like all this beautiful, they call it like the mise en scène. So all this stuff happening in front of the camera, and it all goes through that lens. So it gets focused through that lens, all the light lights it, the light bounces off, the performances, the costumes, the set design, and it comes in through that lens and onto the sensor or onto the film. And then that's it, and that's history. That lives forever. So to be the person who helps usher, something like Mortal Kombat, to usher it in, to then take that encapsulate it and share it with the world is like the best job in the whole world. So
No doubt.
that's what I was asked to do for this, and oh my gosh, man, it was the greatest adventure.
Wow. I mean, as part of today's episode, we're going to see some photos from that amazing project that you worked on, and we're super excited to get into it. But before we dive into any specifics, just so our audience has a better understanding of the whole project, what exactly did the story revolve around, and how deep did it tie in with the actual video game itself?
Yeah, so I was just looking back over the script. We shot this in January of 2015. So this is a long time ago. So I'm only going to be able to speak in very, very like 30,000 foot views. But as I knew it, what we were doing was basically setting up character backstories so that you would watch this first, and then the game would be released, and the game would answer questions and sort of this, it'd be the continuation of what we filmed. So we were going to film intros, live action intros, high quality. We spent millions of dollars. And it was, so just every main character was going to get there. It's like, who are they? Where are they coming from? What are their motivations? And then the game was going to come out like the next week, and you were going to get to then sort of pick up on that journey. So that was the point of it. It was awesome. So awesome.
That sounds like perfect, like a dream, man.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it was so cool. It was so cool, man.
So, to begin, we have some pretty high-resolution images that most here look sort of like they were promotional shots. We have actors such as Eric Roberts, Ron, Haley Lou Richardson, Pepe Sanaga, and the returning Casper Van Dien. So, we're just going to flick through these specific shots, and perhaps you can tell us some of the memories and fun challenges that were faced with the actors during some of these scenes. So, as we can see here, we have Ron in his full getup as Scorpion, and that is an absolutely extraordinary shot, if I must say so myself. Wow.
It's awesome, right? Yeah, this is one of those shots where as I was lining it up, you're like, this is it, man. This is the game. Like, you're in the world, right? That's actually, I'm going to look it up. That's actually, so it's not Ron. Ron there's two different people played Scorpion, because
really?
Because we were actually doing some backstory on Scorpio. So it actually started off with the introduction of Hanzo. And so Hanzo was attacked by, and I don't want to get attacked by, like a legal department for NDAs that I've signed. So I'm going to try and answer questions, but still stay at like a 30,000 foot park.
Sure.
But we had the amazing Ray Park, Darth Maul himself playing Aaron Black. And he was coming after Takeda, who was played by Boo Boo Stewart. And so Ray Park comes and attacks, and I actually think I feel like that is Boo Boo. When we did the pickups, Boo Boo stood in for Ron for these shots. So I actually think, I might be wrong, but I think that, because that shot is actually from pickup. So we went back and reshot some parts of Scorpion's story, but it's a pretty cool moment. It's sort of like, because Hanzo starts off not with, and again, like I think you guys might know more of the lore than I do, but that Scorpion is somewhat of a demon, and so the demon inhabits another character, right? And so the demon chooses Hanzo in this moment. So kind of leading up to it, it's Ron, and then he becomes Scorpion. There's a moment that happens. He becomes. And so then he sort of takes different forms in a sense, and really kind of comes to life and just demolishes the ever-loving hell out of Ray Park. And it was just awesome to watch. Dude, to watch those two guys fight was like, come on, man. It was so cool.
They're insanely talented, so that would have been
so talented. Yeah. I mean, it's just two great martial artists just going at it.
Yeah, Chris, do me a favor, would you? And just go click on image number 7, was it? Or 8? It's with Boo Boo. Number 3. Third one. Third one. Yeah, yep. I think that's the same scene, clearly. I mean, judging by the background.
It is the same scene. So then I don't know who it is. You're right. So that's the same. So that's like the reverse of the shots. Though I don't know who was playing. It wasn't Ron. Ron was there. We shot Ron with principal photography. And then someone else came in for the pickups. So, but that is Ron's character. Ron's playing Scorpion. But that shot of Scorpion, the previous one, was not him. I forgot who it was, and I apologize to whoever played it. Phenomenal job, martial artist.
Yeah.
But yeah, and that's in Griffith Park in California.
Ah, that's where that is.
It
Okay.
was like, happened to catch it when it was green. It's awesome.
Very nice. Yeah.
It's so cool, man.
Yeah,
It
definitely.
was so cool just to get to. I mean, yeah, dude. Oh my gosh, it was such a blast, dude. So much fun, and to walk around and be like we're gonna create Middle Earth. It's middle. What is it called? It's Outland, Outworld, right?
Outworld.
Outworld. Yeah.
Outworld.
Yeah.
And like looking, it's like, where can we do this, and to dive into the history of Los Angeles as the ubiquitous location for every great cinematic piece. And they're going like, we got to find Outworld in LA, and to find these spots in Griffith Park. There's like these little tucked away zones that we just took control of, shut it down. No one could come in and see what we were doing, and we're creating this just awesome world and getting these images. It was just so cool to find these moments. But yeah, dude, this is so much fun. This was actually down on, there's a golf course on the northeast side of Griffith Park. So we loaded in all day long, and I worked with the production department for months leading up to it. And I just wanted to me, Mortal Kombat is a world where it's like when you play the game, like you taste the game. When you're in it, you can smell it, you can taste it. And this is one of those locations where they're like, okay, cool, so there's going to be a fire. I'm like, not only is there going to be a fire, because it's a movie, so there's propane piping going through the ground to feed that thing to keep the fire at exactly the right height the whole time. That's not just like logs where you keep throwing logs in the fire. That's a propane fire, and you can dial it up to get just the right height that you want for camera. But it was like, not only is there going to be a fire, there's going to be smoke in the background, and it's going to be snowing. Because you got to go all the way.
Yeah.
So we installed snow machines in the trees. We did camera tests with every different snow machine. All through the background in that shot, there's hundreds of feet of what we call the tube of death. And it's like air conditioning duct, about that big. And you just run it through the trees, and it cools the smoke as it goes through, so that when it comes out, it doesn't like lift and dissipate. It comes out and hangs. And it was just pumping. So you've got smoke back there. You've got all the snow falling. And then, because I'm a crazy person, I'm trying to add texture to this world. So I shot the whole thing on anamorphic lenses, which we shot this in 2015 before some of the cool new modern anamorphic lenses out. So these were shot on Kawa anamorphics. And this is a nerd. So for any cinematographers watching, Kawa anamorphics, when we open them up, and they're super fast, they get really problematic. So we had to shoot with them around a T4, 456, which requires a lot of light. So to get this image, I had hundreds of amps of light just blasting. So we had huge generators and this crew of electricians running miles of cable through this golf course to backlight this smoke, to backlight the snow. I mean, it was just epic, man. We're standing around, and it's like, and everyone's looking at it in real life and going like, it's bright as day out here. And I'm like, yeah, but look at it on the camera. Like, we're creating this world. And as soon as you look at it like through the viewfinder and you see like the end, you're like, oh, okay, this is what we're doing. And there's another picture of me shooting this scene, and you can see the stupid grin on my face. And one more. There
we go.
There it is.
That's me going like, can you believe what we're doing right now? Like, come on, man. Like, this is amazing. Like, come on. This is so much fun.
But honestly, from what I can see here, it was just designed brilliantly. I think you guys nailed it and did such a good job, because instantly when you describe the scene, it's just so reminiscent of the forest stage in Mortal Kombat X.
Yes. Yes.
It's so... You guys nailed it. I love it.
Oh, thank you so much, man. Yeah, It was... A lot of people worked so hard to make it look that good. And everyone was down. I was like, there was no fighting or bickering. It was like, let's just get after it. Let's work hard. And we worked all night long. You know, like those shoot nights, it's like you have a whole prep team that works during the day, during the daylight hours to get things set up. And then you have an entirely new crew that comes in at sundown and shoots all through the night until the sun comes up. And you don't stop shooting until it's like, well, it's no longer night anymore. Like, we got to go to bed. And then that just repeats. You know, it's a lot of work. But so worth it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, this shot here, when I saw it for the first time, I was floored by how this one in particular looks. So why don't you tell us a little bit about this particular shot?
Yeah, it's Haley, and then it's what's her name? Is it Peppy? Peppy Sanuga? Peppy.
Yeah, yes.
So in this episode, so she is who is she? Hold on. I've got cheat codes up here. So
she plays
Jackie Briggs. And then
Cassie.
Haley is Cage. So it's Cassie Cage. So it's pretty cool. So we actually get to meet super young Cassie Cage, which is in some of those other pictures. So Casper is teaching her. And then in this episode, she gets in a little bit over her head. And they go in thinking it's going to be just the two of them. They're going to go in there and clean house and save the day. And it doesn't go so well. And they really get into it. But yeah, I just, very inspired by Emmanuel Lubezki's photography and cinematography, and I just wanted to, again, like with all that texture, I wanted to get the camera in this world. I wanted to be really close. So these are all shot with a 20 millimeter lens, so wide angle, close up, and I just wanted to be close to them, and I just make it personal, because like when you're playing the game, it is personal. Like, you become them, and so just how can I blend that, and this just felt like a natural way to do that. So yeah. And Eric, oh my gosh, dude, Eric was just like such a trip. Showed up. he is the kung fu master. Like, it was just, I've never seen someone kind of do the Jackie Chan, like, drunken master just so well. He's just so much fun in the show. So he meets Louis Tan and begins training Louis Tan in this episode. Yeah, Kung Jin. And of course, Louis Tan, he shows up and everyone's like, who's this guy? And you're like, he's a star. He's going to be a star. It's just like, it doesn't surprise me at all when then, they end up making the feature film and everything. I'm like, of course, it's got to be Louis, dude. Like, he's the one to take the torch and carry this thing forward.
Yeah.
And there's Cassie Cage. So that's little Cassie with Casper. And this is a really beautiful scene. And so
it is.
This starts off, I think, his episode, and it's this beautiful moment. She's punching some handbags, and he gives her the speech about, like what do we do when we get down? And she's like, we get back up. He's like, I didn't hear you loud enough. What do we do if you get hit and you go down? Like, what do you do? She's like, we get back up. And it's just this beautiful thing. And so there's just them going, and there's a hard cut from, he's like, all right, now hit me. Come on, Cassie, like, hit me. And so she's kind of like, yeah. He's like, not hard enough, hit me harder. She's like, rah, rah, rah. And then boom, so she finally, like, this little girl lands a punch, and on that punch, we cut to Cage in a real cage match, Johnny Cage getting just smacked for real. And it was just this awesome transition. And that's all credit. That's Garrett Warren through and through, the director and visionary for this whole thing.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
Purely genius. And what is also very touching about that particular scene is Garrett shared with me on Twitter that scene was literally based around a real moment in his life with his daughter, which is so very nice.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
He's the most special human being. Like, we could talk about how awesome Garrett Warren is for the rest of this podcast, man. It's just nuts.
Guaranteed.
Very nice. So aside from those photos, you've also provided us with a few pictures from behind the scenes, capturing some awesome moments during production. So let's go through some of those, and perhaps you could explain a few of those too. Yeah,
this is from the episode that introduced Devora. And nice. This is so cool. So her episode is so dark, and she's such a dark character. And when I was reading for the script for this, I was overwhelmed with images from Blade Runner and just who she is and the world that she operates in. and so I gave the Grip and Electric crew the track Visions of the Future, Visions from the Future. What is it called? Tales of the Future by Vangelis from the Blade Runner soundtrack.
Nice.
So take a listen to that track, and then you'll hear what this was. And so it's just that starts to play, but it was so cool. So I played, the and these are very salty, like hardworking, dudes and dudettes, right? The Grip and Electric team are like, they're the spine of a film crew set, and they're used to people like cinematographers coming and saying like, see this picture, like I want it to kind of look like this picture, but I was like, listen to this music. I want it to look like how this sounds. So they were like, all right, whatever, dude. So they listened to the song. They're like, okay, cool. We lit this scene. Fast forward to I get the rough cut of this episode. I had never had a conversation with the editor. The editor put Tales of the Future over this image in the temp score.
What?
Wow.
I was like, I jumped up and down. I was like, you've got to be kidding me. And I called, I was like, why did you pick? He's like, well, you just see the images. And I was like, oh yeah, like I know exactly what music to put in for this. So obviously, like we didn't license it. We're not going to take it. They wrote an original score for the thing, but for the temp score, for the rough cut, he put in the same song that I played for the crew. And I was like, let's make it look like how this sounds. And that's what you see us building here. So it's just, it's steam coming up from soup bowls and noodles, and it's backlight and it's smoke. And it was like a kitchen with people working. It was just like, it's like, again, like you can smell it, you can taste it. And that's what's happening here is this, just everyone working their butts off to just build that texture, that richness. It's awesome.
That's too cool, man. I do have a question about the Devora actress. What was her name? I'm not sure if we know that.
Yeah, let me see. I was looking at like a crew list.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I forgot. I think she was a stunt. I don't have a call sheet. Of shooting skin.
But yeah, we seen an image of Devora when Casper Van Dien released some behind the scenes footage, and she looked incredible, just like the games, man. Another impressive one. Yeah.
One thing I find really
unfortunate. Sorry.
I was just going to say, one thing that's really interesting about this project too is this particular game introduced so many new characters, many of which had not been, hinted at all before. And so this was really the first opportunity to introduce them to the public. And so, it was such an important project. And from what we've seen just in the scenes and also, the costumes, you guys absolutely nailed it.
Mm-hmm.
It's so awesome. It makes me sad. I'm so happy to talk about it, but boy, 2015. So we're coming up on 8 years, and it was just a bummer. And there was, I don't want to get into the politics, but suffice to say, like I think ultimately the project didn't get there for what the vision of it was. I think the game was ready to come out. I think that this wasn't quite there. They were still working on finishing this up, and they weren't willing to push. Now, this is just, I am so low on the totem pole, so like this is my limited view on this whole story.
Sure.
But like 30,000 foot is just like, I don't know if this cinema piece was ready to serve its intended purpose by the time the game was ready. And it was like, we got to release the game. I think that something like that is what happened, and it all still did very well, and Lewis just absolutely killed the movie. The movie's amazing. But it's sad, it's like there's a lot of people work their butts off to make this thing. And I'm so stoked that you guys are responding to these images. So much passion, man. Yeah.
I couldn't be happier, man. Yeah.
I love it. So what's actually happening this particular scene here?
Yeah, I think this is Devora about to... Yeah, so that's a stunt rig. So she is about to unleash one of her claws, like up through the guy from the bottom, like Alien. So I think it's like she comes up through between his legs, inside him, and then it comes like out and around, grabs his throat, and she like lifts him up. So that is a stunt harness rig so that she can perform it, and he'll actually come up off the ground. So yeah, that's Devore on the right.
Actually, yeah, you can see the claw here.
Badass. Yeah.
So,
Badass.
amazing.
Yeah, and then I think that's the leader of the dragon, the Red Dragons. I think that's who she's messing with.
The leader of the Red Dragons.
The Red
So
Dragons.
Dagon or Bravado?
Let's see here. So let me look at the script again. Hold on. And where's it?
One of the two, I would say.
Because I remember in the scene, and again, because this is 8 years ago, so I'm like trying to recall like who said what. But
I'm very
he's
curious.
talking to her, and he was so good too. I feel like hold on. I actually wonder if now I'm starting to remember some stuff. Is that the actor from Lost?
From Lost, Dominic.
Do you remember the guy who was the leader of the Dharma Initiative? He's in all of the videos. So when they're on the island and they find all those like 8mm or 16mm like tutorials about like welcome to the Dharma program.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure it's that guy.
Okay.
He's also not on IMDb, which is such a shame. So I think like he walks in. I'm such a diehard Lost fan. I was like, "Are you like Ray Park?" Like, and then it was like, dude, this is like every day. I was just like, "What is my life right now? This is amazing." But yeah, so like when they, here we go. Yeah, so he's a character. He was playing.
Does the name Dagon or Movado ring a bell?
No,
No.
it was Ron. They called him Ron in the script.
Okay.
So I don't know, but he's like, so it's like, yeah, we need Kutal Khan's help to smuggle in more Outworlders for sale. In exchange, Red Dragon becomes his right hand here in the Earth Realm. How does that sound? So he was trying to negotiate a deal with Devora, but she had other motives. She was there to do some other stuff. So I think she kind of like snuck her way in. But he was kind of like a human trafficker working with the Red Dragons. Yeah.
Interesting.
Very interesting, yeah.
Yeah. There's a lot, man. So this was just, again, this is like out of Garrett Warren's incredible visionary mind. To introduce the world as Devora is like walking deeper and deeper into this awful place. How do you just sort of paint these images? Like, how do you just sort of describe like what's happening here without exposition, without people talking about what's happening? So she just kept passing through doorways, and there would be like just some, questionable activity happening, and they would like close the door. So it's like you sort of like look over with her, you would see a scene like this, and you go like, what? And they're like, boom, that kind of door would close.
That's awesome.
So awesome, dude. Yeah. So that's
that episode
Haley.
with Cassie and Jackie. Yeah.
Yeah.
My guess is
So
they probably got captured by Kano.
There we go.
Yeah.
That's it.
Wow.
That's it.
That's
And
really cool.
yeah, so they're there. And then this is towards the beginning of the Johnny Cage episode. He's in a Johnny Cage in a cage fight. And this guy was just so awesome. So much fun, and everyone was so cool. So we're waiting for Casper to come over. They're rehearsing something or whatever, and so I'm just hanging out with all these guys, and I was like, let's take a picture. And so it's like, so everyone's down. So like I'm director's like, so you're just like, he's inches from the camera, right, to get this shot. I've got all of them in the background, and they're just like giving me this thing. I just love this picture so much. It's just such a fun moment. But yeah, I snapped this in between shots, in between setups.
Wow. And speaking of Casper Van Dien, we also seen in some leaked footage that he had a fight scene with Ferrator. Yeah, that's pretty cool too. Would have loved to see that whole scene play out.
God,
yeah,
dude, it's awesome. It's awesome. And he gets worked pretty good in that fight too. It's not going super well for him. Because he's kind of on a tear. Well, so there's so you've looked at the IMDb and you've seen and I'm sure you saw that we had the man himself on set for a day. We had, I don't pronounce his name correctly, we had Mr. Kari Hiroyuki Tagawa on set.
That is accurate, actually. Yes. Yeah.
So, when you find out, it's like we've actually locked in the real Shang Tsung, like coming to reprise the role. It was like, are you, dude? No way. So Johnny Cage goes to talk to him and learn some stuff that kind of sets him off on a rampage. And so before he fights Ferritor, he's kind of in this Fight Club area on a tear, just like taking everyone out and just like cleaning house until Ferritor shows up. And then he's like, oh, and you kind of get the idea. It's like, he's like, I bit off way more than I can chew. And so it's like, we just all night long, Casper Van Dien just getting thrown all over the room by these guys. Cause it's like, who's next? And it's like, you? She's like, no, us. And it's like the two of them. And so that was just super cool. All the stunt rigs, people with harnesses getting ripped through crowds, like all that stuff. I mean, it was just mental, absolutely mental.
Do you remember Casper doing a lot of improvisation? I know he's famous for that.
Yeah, I just remember, because Casper and Garrett are friends. They go all the way back to Starship Troopers.
Nice.
And so their familiarity on set goes so far. So it's like two brothers just going like what are we going to do next, man? Like just inventing and creating with each other and this incredible shorthand. So I just remember Casper, he's just so sweet to begin with. And then here he is with family. So he's unequivocally himself, like his truest sense of self. And so he's such a free person. So, he's down to embrace Johnny. He's just like, I am Johnny. But then as soon as the camera cuts, he's just this like lovable person. So, I don't remember, I can't really quote any exact like, improv lines or moments, but there was a funny, there was a funny moment that we came up with where he's coming down into the club. And the elevator operator in the elevator, Garrett hired this comedian to play like the bellhop. And the bellhop looks at him and goes like, "Hold on, wait a minute. You're that famous fighter guy, right? Jean-Claude Van Damme?" And then it's a hard cut. No way. And then the elevator doors open, and the dude's just slumped on the floor like from a chokehold, and Johnny Cage just like walks out.
Oh man. That is awesome.
This is so much fun, man. Yeah,
fantastic.
Like, and I think he's like, "You that famous fighter guy, Jean-Claude Van Damme?" And then just like choked out, like gone, done. It's awesome, dude. It's so much fun. Yeah. This is us filming. If you go back, so that's filming Kung Jin. So in the Cursed Woods, he's trying to find his way to a temple. And Eric Roberts just keeps messing with him. And so he thinks he's on a path. And every path he takes, he ends up back at the same crossroads. And it's like haunted woods. And so then he kind of like figures out that Eric Roberts is like, messing with him and tries to fight him. And loses, right? It's just like, it's mind over matter. And what was so crazy about this was... how much we had to film that day. I went with the assistant director, the stunt coordinator, and a couple other folks, and some stunt doubles, to Griffith Park weeks before, and we actually filmed the whole episode on, probably like a 5D Mark II, Canon 5D Mark II.
Oh, wow.
Okay.
So we shot the whole episode, and... because what I'm looking for is just like, what's the coolest shot? Like, I want to like stitch together the coolest moments. I don't want to just have the action happen here because it's like easy for us economically, right? So it's like, okay, like this looks cool over here, that looks cool over here, and there were some stunt moments that we had to manufacture that had to be over here. So I ended up having multiple units spread out across Griffith Park, and everyone is just shooting their piece of the puzzle. So the whole thing was meticulously planned, where it's like you throw a punch and it cuts through camera left, and then you're gonna like dodge a punch camera right. So it's like you've got two people fighting each other, but one guy is on one side of the mountain and the other guy is on the other side of the mountain, and the radios aren't reaching each other, So I'm like on a 4x4 driving from set to set, kind of going like, okay, cool. Like, how are you? Like, did you get okay? Now, when you took that punch, was it left to right or right to left? And where was the sun? Was the sun over here? Was the sun over here? Like, okay, cool, great. Okay, you're doing great. Stay on it. And then I would drive back over to the other set and make sure. And there were so many camera people. When I was the cinematographer for this is a union multi-million-dollar production. I was 27 years old. So I had to scale up the crew for this. I show up to one of the units, and the camera assistants don't know who I am. So this young kid shows up, and I like go straight to the camera because they see they're doing something not quite how I want it. So I go start messing with the camera. They're like, whoa, like, dude, like, what are you doing? Like, who are you? And, so and then I forgot someone who knew who I was like, oh no, he's the cinematographer. It's okay, like, you can do it. But it was just this like fast and furious, race in the light. Everyone's shooting at once. Eric Roberts is on this side. Louis Tan is on that side. But we did it. It was pretty cool. And it's just crazy how when you come up with a playbook, you shoot it to a T, you edit it together, nobody can tell. It's like the one thing in cinematography that's constant is like the sun has a backlight. If you just backlight people with the sun, then you're good. It's just like, it's crazy how like it doesn't bother people to see that. You don't really think too much about it when you're looking this way and the sun's behind him, and then you look this way and the sun's behind him. It looks cool. So everyone's always sort of like, well, like, what's the continuity here? And I'm like, the continuity is that it's bitching. It's just like, it's like rich and bitching. It's just like, that looks good. That looks good. As long as it all looks good, we're good,
Yeah.
And,
that's right.
And it cut together, and it was a crazy couple days. Yeah.
I would say.
Back with Ron.
Yep. Oh,
Back
yes, we seen your face there earlier.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yep.
There it is.
Yeah, Ray Park.
Ah, yes, and here is Ray. That costume looks absolutely amazing.
Incredible.
Yeah,
right?
how was Ray on set? Do you remember any really cool scenes that he was in, particularly? Besides
I just
that
remember
one big
him
fight
being,
scene.
yeah, doing the fight scene, and then his dialogue leading up to the fight. They wake up and they sense something's wrong, and Hanzo senses that like that he has told Takeda to like stay close. The woods are dangerous. He wakes up, Takeda's not there. And I think it was that like Takeda had sensed Aaron Black coming and had hid, and Aaron Black is there looking for Takeda. And this just awesome, he's so good at being evil. Like he just walks forward and he has this power, and he's dark, and he's like, where's the boy? And it was just like, I am filming some really epic stuff right now. Like, this is just so cool. And you can tell it's a little difficult to tell here. The barrel and the bolts are glowing.
Ah, yes, I can see
We
that.
actually built LEDs into the weapon.
Wow.
Very interesting.
These are special munitions. These are like these are flesh-seeking rounds.
Oh,
so you can miss, and even if you miss, the bolt's not done. So
that's so cool. On the video game, it's really funny because every time he shoots the gun, the bullet will actually say the character's name
personalized.
on it.
Yeah. It's just like, there's no dodging this. It's like, it's game over.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's a pretty cool concept. And what's also fantastic about Ray Park is, if I'm not mistaken, I think his very first like big movie was Mortal Kombat Annihilation in 1997. So it's just way too cool how all these years later, he winds up on another Mortal Kombat project like this. He did a lot of the stunts for Raiden and the reptilians in that movie. So that's just fantastic. That's wicked.
Oh, that's so cool. I didn't know that. That's amazing.
Yeah.
He is a very, very sweet man. Very, very cool.
Yeah, and I think it's really cool that Louis Tan got his second chance too, because he played Kung Jin in this, but then he obviously transitioned to the newest movie where he plays Cole Young, and they're I guess as characters
Yep.
themselves, they they couldn't be further apart. They're so different. What was it like working with Lewis on set, and do you have any really cool memories with him at all?
Yeah. I just remember him being just a star. It's like this guy shows up, he's playing off, Eric Roberts, who timeless, it's like the legend. And he holds his own. He just shows up, he's got such a presence, he's so self-assured and so confident, does all of his own stunts, does his own fighting. He's grown up in a fight family. Actually, it's so interesting. I've been shooting commercials with his brother now for years. Ben Tan,
nice.
just a phenomenal director. And the Tan family is just, it's like a Hollywood staple, Hollywood royalty. They're so talented, so hardworking. And so he belongs on set. It's just like Lewis is the man.
Yeah. And what did you think of the
shot.
movie?
I loved it. I wish it could have gone more. I was like, I always want more. Like, let it be brutal, let it be intense. And just, I guess the biggest thing too is like, I am so happy that Lewis was able. I wanted people to see what he could do, and I think everyone
Certainly.
did.
Yeah.
Certainly.
So, this is one of the first shots that we did in the morning, and he's just up there in character, and I think it was trying to like, if you could like move a little bit like this, it's like, no, he's just gonna do what he's gonna do, man. Like, it's like you can't. he was getting into it, he was feeling it out, and and it was just the sun's coming up. I'm like, he's a movie star, man. It's awesome.
I mean, you can tell from that shot, he's not just a guy standing on a hill. He's even in this behind the scenes shot, he's got presence just standing there.
Well said, Chris.
You're like, man, that's Lewis.
Yes.
And what was also pretty neat. What was also pretty neat is that when the unfortunate news came out that this project wasn't going to be released, I reached out to basically all of the cast, and Lewis Tan almost right away contacted me immediately, and he told me how much fun he had on the project, and how it was so unfortunate that this happened, because he really, really did have a good time working this. So it's such a shame, man. These photos, it's so beautiful.
I just hope that at least we have these, at least I had the presence of mind, because it's like, dude, it was a lot. I think on this day, I've got 5 or 6 cameras spread out all over the hill, and I'm running around, making sure that everyone is working towards the same end goal. But there were these little moments where I had my Nikon on me in between, and I'm just snapping pictures as I go. So glad that I did that. I'm so glad that I did that. At least we have these. There's some evidence of the love and the passion that everyone put into this thing. So, yeah,
100%.
at least we have these,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. You have to.
Look who it is.
You have
that
to.
guy looks familiar.
Yeah, it's like, what am I not going to take a picture with Eric Roberts? It's like, come on. Like,
Exactly.
Legend.
Come on.
it's so cool, man. So much fun. Look at that young guy. My goodness.
What did you say, 26? Was it? Yeah.
27 years old.
27. Okay.
Yeah.
Hey.
And
There's your brother Garrett there.
And there's Garrett in just like full badass mode. Just always switched on. He's always switched on all the time, dude. It's like, good morning, Garrett. Who'd you kill today? Like, you're like, yep, all right, cool, awesome.
It's good to
Legend.
Absolute legend.
Yeah. So tell us, aside from these amazing photos, did you happen to keep anything from the set? Like, there's anything sitting on a shelf that you look at and you're like, man.
I have the slate.
Oh, really?
I have the slate with Mortal Kombat on it, Garrett's name, my name, and I'm just like, yeah. So one day I'm gonna frame that, put it on a wall, but it's like it's in a special box with a couple other slates from films that I've worked on right now. But yeah, no other props or anything. For a long time, I think I had like Garrett's copy of the script with his notes in it, and that's probably somewhere, but yeah, no props. I mean, it was crazy, guys. I mean, it's the biggest project. I want to say we spent, like over $5 million on this thing.
Oof.
And so it's the biggest thing that I had done. And so I read this book, as I've been making movies my whole life. I started making films with my friends when I was 10 years old. So I get to this point, and I remembered stories of Stanley Kubrick as a young man working on Spartacus. And it was sort of advice to filmmakers. And he's like, you just can't think about like the scope of it. It's like you just sort of focus in on the same thing that you've always focused in on, which is just story and character, and just at the end of the day, what's it all about? And so there were these little moments where I was able to take out my camera and sort of document this awesome thing that I was a part of. But for the most part, like I was just zoned in, like I was just so focused on making sure that I was giving everyone the information that they needed to do what Garrett needed. It's just like, again, this visual ambassador, and I just felt this incredible responsibility that I had been given this opportunity as a young cinematographer to tell this story. So I was just like dialed in, just going, like, are you good? Are you good? Like, what do you need? Like let's work on that a little bit. Like, I think that should be a little bit more like this, and trying to collaborate, empower, my collaborators and my team, but just keep the thing going where I know that Garrett wanted it to go. And
sure,
good Lord, that's it's a whole thing. Like, it's just like you finish each day and you're just like, it's just an intense focus.
Yeah.
Sounds about right, man. By chance, are there any other characters in the series that we didn't mention? I recently looked on IMDb, and I had seen that Baraka actually was included in that series as well. Does that sound right?
I don't remember. Let's see. Who is Baraka again? Yes.
He's got the big blades that come out of his arms. A nomad from Outworlds. Yeah.
I'm trying to remember which episode he would have been in. Yeah, again, I don't know. I'd have to look through the script.
Yeah, because that was a shocker to me. I had no idea that he was even in there. But yeah, there's so many good characters, and it just really would have been something else to see all the different performances and what they had to deliver here. So
yeah.
I mean, nothing's impossible. Maybe one day we'll see some more stuff, right? Maybe one day.
It's there. It's finished, and it's 8 years old. So
I know Garrett's made it public that the special effects and the music, everything, it's all done. It's just it's there.
How many episodes were actually put together?
Yeah,
5. 5 episodes. So let's see, we got Johnny's, we've got Cassie's, Devora, Kungjin, and then Woods, Cursed Woods, right? Scorpion. So I think there's 5 stories.
If I may ask, what was the approximate duration of each episode?
Probably like 10 to 15 minutes.
Okay.
Yeah, I think like all together they make just shy of like a feature film. It's like somewhere in that realm.
10 to 15 minutes is already a huge improvement from the previous sort of short series, The Legacy, because some of those were like barely even 6 minutes. You know what I mean? It just it went like that. So every minute counts at this rate, and even up to 15 minutes is pretty fun. So.
Yeah. Well, don't quote me on it. It's like 8 years ago, because I feel like I'm going to say 15 minutes. They're going to release and be like 2 minutes each, and be like, man, I really screwed those guys. That
They expected so much more.
Yeah, you're like, where's the rest of it, Nathan? And be like, I am sorry. Maybe I think it's 15 minutes because I worked so hard on it, and then you're like, they cut it down. You're like, it's 30 seconds, huh? All right, cool.
Okay,
that's it.
But no, I remember them being, fully realized, episodes where it's like you're learning a whole part of the world, and then also, so much of it too is Garrett's vision. You sit in meetings with this guy, and he just goes, And he's just like, there's like all these people, there's this crowd in the background, and this guy's doing this. He's describing an action that's happening deep in the background that isn't the main plot. But his mind sees such a clear picture of the universe. So you get so invested in every little micro detail, and then you're building this fabric of this universe that by the time it's done, you're just like, I have no idea how long this thing is or could be. It's just like we've put together, we've assembled a tapestry of images. So then it's just like it's like, take it, go, and you can and do it. But yeah.
I mean, ultimately, as a creative professional, anything you work on, you want to see released. And when you put all that work in and it can't be enjoyed by the public, naturally it's probably a little bit heartbreaking. So without getting, into trouble, I guess, could you possibly elaborate on why ultimately it was cancelled, aside from those, time constraints you mentioned? Were there any other major reasons it was sort of binned, or?
No, I think they were just finishing it. I think they were finishing the visual effects.
Okay.
And, and it's just about getting it right. It's about so much work being put into it every step of the way, and then you're putting a bow on it. And as you wrap it all up, it's like, it's not ready yet. We're still, people can only do what people can do. And it's like, well, the release date's this Saturday or whatever, and it's just like, it'll be done next Saturday. And at some point, a conversation that I wasn't privy to was had where it's like, and it's just crazy. I've got friends who have worked on huge commercials, some friends who worked on Apple commercials that were directed by huge Academy Award winning directors, where they spent tens of millions of dollars for some new iPhone product, and it never gets released. There's a conversation at some point that's had where it's just like,
damn,
it's crazy. So I feel blessed that I was there, that I got to watch the movie firsthand. But yeah, it's a bummer. It's a bummer when, I think for me, the thing was I just tried to make sure that my identity as an artist wasn't tied to the thing that didn't get released. I think that's the hardest thing, where you kind of I think everyone in the project at some point goes was it my fault? And it's just no, it's so much bigger than that, man. It's it's so hard to kind of compute what goes into making this thing what it is. But at a certain point, decisions have to be made, and the show must go on. And
that's right.
Yeah.
So, being somebody who's seen the full product and everything, that what would you say is your all-time favorite scene? The one to you that stands out the most? Hard to pick.
Yeah, there's some good ones.
Yeah.
I was pretty stoked when we shot Shang Tsung, and in the script you don't know it's him. I said his name right? It's Shang Tsung.
Yep.
You don't know it's him in the script. You don't know who exactly Johnny Cage is going to visit. He goes to the maximum
darkness.
Security. He's in darkness, and you hear the voice first. And so the script was written that way, and so the way that I lit it is I filled the room with smoke and atmosphere, and I had the same spotlights that Ridley Scott used on Blade Runner, kind of traversing the background. So there's these big shafts of light, like a maximum security prison light, kind of in this huge warehouse coming through windows in the background, all this stuff, and you just see a man sitting in a chair with a lamp, but the lamp is lighting his hands, and his hands are just on his knees, and you hear the friggin' voice, dude, and you're like,
yes,
is that no,
it can't be.
No.
Can I ask, what did he actually? What were the first words he said?
Should we look it up?
I'm just imagining this, and I know I have so much respect for Kerry.
Yes,
and
I'd love to know the first few words at least. Yeah.
Right.
You know.
I would
So
just
bear with
love
me.
to.
You can edit down. I'm gonna find it here though. Hold on.
Sure. Just when you were describing it, I was almost getting like
Chills.
goosebumps. Just, yeah.
Chills. Yeah.
That's how I felt when I read. Yeah. So he's described in the screenplay as shadowed man. Johnny enters the dimly lit room on the far side. A shadowed old man sits in a chair, partially obscured in shadow. Johnny keeps a good distance from him. This is nice to see you, Mr. Cage. That was the first thing he said. So,
but you know right away
so
with
he's-
that voice, man, it's scary.
You know, with the
Yeah.
voice. So he's there, and the whole time you're kind of like, what's going on? And then he stands up and he walks over, and as he gets closer to Johnny, he steps into the light. And the last thing he said was, the last thing he says.
Yeah, that part.
Show
I don't
them,
know.
show them the light, Mr. Cage. They won't be able to resist.
Oh, that's
Ooh.
cool.
And we reveal it's him. It's just, dude, it was just so cool. It was so awesome.
And what was very unique and very different about that scene was I remember they were warning Johnny Cage, hey, don't go in there, without your protection. Something about radiation was kind of, setting Shang Tsung back from his powers, right?
Yeah, he's in like a Faraday cage, this sort of like radiation chair Faraday cage, and he has the ability to he can kind of like put his hands close to it. So I built this lighting rig around him that they then enhanced with CG. But basically, as he brings his hands close to Johnny, this invisible force field wall starts to get brighter and brighter and brighter as like a warning. So as he's saying, "Show them the light," he's pushing his hands out like this. He's like, "Show them the light, Mr. Cage," and when this light starts to glow, they won't be able to resist.
Man.
It was awesome. It was
so
awesome.
neat. Yeah.
Man.
It was cool.
I can dig it.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's fun
So-
talking about it because I haven't
Yeah.
revisited a lot of these memories in some time,
Mhm.
but there were a lot of us. I actually brought Jay Kaufman, who's another phenomenal cinematographer. He was my camera assistant, one of my camera assistants on this. He and I still work together and talk about this. I brought him we just did Avatar, The Way of Water together.
Yes.
So it's like, there's a whole group of us, Garrett, this camera team and I, and it's just, we've all moved on to work on other really cool projects. And this is kind of a child, just this love project that got left behind. So it's really cool to go back and remember some of these moments. We did really, really cool stuff, man.
Mhm.
Really, really cool
Yeah.
stuff. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, speaking of Avatar 2, I'm actually going to go see it for the first time tomorrow. I got my ticket booked.
No, you haven't
I'm
seen it
so
yet?
No, I'm
You
seeing it
won't see
tomorrow. Except for this
Well,
guy.
what do you-
I haven't seen it either, to be fair.
Oh, there you go. Okay. Hey, man. Listen. Life gets busy, all right?
This is true. This
No,
is true.
but I am.
Are you seeing?
I am
You're
so
seeing in 3D.
pumped. Yes.
Good.
Yes, I am.
Variable frame rate 3D. Excuse me.
Yeah.
So I'm
It's gonna be
IMAX
good.
3D.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, it
that's the
took
way to
so
see it.
long to get this thing out. So much going on. What did it take? At least 10 years? So,
Yeah.
yeah.
He started writing
And-
the screenplays right after the first one was released.
And today, I think it was today or yesterday, officially, Avatar 2 beat Avengers Infinity War in the box office. That's huge.
We
On
did
its
it.
way up, man. On
That's
its
it.
way up.
This is crazy. So he's got 3 films in the top 5 of all time. It's like
Yeah.
Cameron has 3
Cameron.
films in the top 5 highest grossing films of all time. It's crazy. It's crazy. Yeah.
Unbelievable, man.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
now that we're talking about these other projects and whatnot, obviously you work very closely with Garrett Warren and so forth.
Mhm.
What are some other great titles that you've worked on? I think if I'm not mistaken, I might have seen you work slightly on a Transformers movie as well.
Yeah, I did some 3D work on Revenge of the Fallen, Transformers 3D.
Yeah.
Transformers 3. I did a lot of 3D work early in my career as an assistant. That was pretty cool. And back then, dude, I worked on Life of Pi, Hugo Cabret, Transformers 3, Justin Bieber live in concert in 3D.
Yeah.
A bunch of fun stuff.
Alita Battle
Yeah, those
Angel.
are. Yeah, and Battle
I'm a
Angel.
huge fan. They gotta make the second one. That tease
I
at the end
know.
with Edward Norton? Dude, come on. It's gotta happen.
Yeah, it's got to happen. That movie is so. I feel like slept on
Underrated,
by
in my
so many
opinion.
people. For
Underrated.
real. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. I want Cameron to direct it. I love Robert Rodriguez. He's amazing. But
Yeah.
it's such a passion project for Jim Cameron. It's just like the dude's got too many cool things going on. Where it's just like it would be so much fun to see him at least come in and like guest direct, a sequence or something. Yeah, that'd be really, really cool. Yeah.
Very, very cool. And before we jump to the last segment of the show, let's talk briefly about how your passion for this whole thing really started. If I'm not mistaken, I think it has to do something about your passion for the movie Blair Witch Project. Does that play?
Did you get that off of IMDb?
I may have.
Yeah. So I don't know how that got. I don't know when someone wrote that in IMDb's like Wikipedia, and I've tried to like alter it, and you can't alter it. Like, so I don't know who.
They come right back.
It's crazy. I didn't even see the Blair Witch Project until I was like in college. But I remember, so when I was 10, my friends went and watched it, and they loved it, and so they wanted to make. I lived like outside of Portland, Oregon, in a town in Washington called Vancouver, Washington. So instead of the Blair Witch Project, we made the Vancouver Weston Project when we were all like 10 years old. And it was just about like a kid in the neighborhood like who disappeared, and they're trying to find like what happened to this kid in the neighborhood. And that was like one of the first times where I like shot, edited a film, and did all of it. We shot that on VHS, and we edited it with a VHS player, so you would have like reel to reel. You shoot a take, put it in the VHS player. If you don't like it, you rewind it, and then you record over that take. So there would always be like the scene that was really hard to get. There would be like a few frames of previous takes that you would see before then, like what was actually in the movies. You're just like shooting it linearly. But no, I think like what got me into all of this. My dad's a pilot, and he grew up on a farm in Minnesota. And so his brothers and sisters are still in the Midwest, and are kind of just they're very much like living in the Midwest. Some of them like trade futures commodities, or sort of teach music around Minneapolis. But it's sort of like things that you would expect. My father was the black sheep, and my grandparents didn't question it. They're like, "You want to be a pilot? Like, go do it." And so I grew up hearing that story, and my parents and my father really, he had been encouraged to pursue his passion as a child. So when I started to say that I was passionate about telling stories and making movies, he didn't question it. He didn't try to fight it. He was just like, I understand what it's like to have a passion that maybe I don't understand, and I'm not going to question it. I'm just going to support it.
Sure.
So that was a huge component. And then every like sort of family vacation or whatnot we would do, he would shoot 35 millimeter E6 slide film, and we would have parties or whatnot with friends after the trip, and we would do a slideshow. So you have like the Kodak carousel with the slides, and he would put the slides in a very particular order. So I didn't really understand it, but what I was witnessing was my father tell a story with images, and then he was editing. He's editing the story by what order he places these pictures in. He's visually storytelling these things. So the sort of 1-2 punch of him not questioning and encouraging, and my mother as well. I don't want to discount her in any way, shape, or form, but this was kind of his thing. And then the visual storytelling was something I grew up with. And so I've just never really looked back. It's been something that I've loved so deeply. And then when I found out that like George Lucas and Steven Spielberg were friends, I was like, well, it's over. So it's like, hold on, wait. So the director of Indiana Jones and the director of Star Wars are friends? and they're like each direct. I'm like, come, okay, well, game over. I'm like, I have to go do this with my life. Where it's just like you can tell stories like that with your friends. It's like, yeah, no, done.
Yeah.
So,
That's astonishing,
here I am.
Nathan. Really is.
Yeah.
So we're going to switch things up a little bit here. We're going to go to a segment called
Final Round.
And so what we're going to do in this final round is ask you some quick fun questions, try to get to know you a little more. And so the first question being, what are some of your secret talents?
I was in marching band. I played drums, and then in non-marching band season, I played jazz piano, and I can still play the riff to the James Bond theme. I can still go ba-da, 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 ba-da. I can still play that on piano.
Dude, that's fantastic. I'm a huge James Bond fan. I just got to know, side question, who is your favorite James Bond?
Dude, it's like a three-way tie between Connery, Brosnan, and Craig. You know, like it's sort of like I like them for their own reasons. I like Connery because he's Connery. I like Brosnan because he's the seminal Bond, like as I'm kind of growing up, right? Like in 90s, like he is Bond. But I love Craig's vulnerability, and I think Skyfall is one of the best films ever made. So it's sort of like I love the variety, and I'm so excited to see what they're going to do with the franchise next.
And speaking of cinematography, Skyfall was just out of this world.
Nuts. And it's like, leave it to Roger Deakins to take what has always been a celluloid world. So it's like, you've always, Bond is physical film, right? It's shot on film, not digital film. And then Deakins comes in, and he's just like, I'm gonna just switch this whole thing up. And somehow still maintains the sense of darkness and texture, but with the digital camera. I mean, it's just like, come on, it's unbelievable, absolutely unbelievable. So, yeah,
I hear you, man. What would you say is the strangest place you've ever visited?
Ooh. The strangest place?
Yeah, not what you were expecting. Was kind of odd, you know.
This could get me in trouble because I love. I don't want to speak in a derogatory manner, but strange feels somewhat synonymous with I didn't really like it. Strange, not what I was expecting. Let's go with this. I love it, but not what I was expecting. Super random, but I was actually shooting a piece for Ellen DeGeneres, and we went to the middle of nowhere, Ohio. And so we're in the middle of nowhere, Ohio, and it's a big film crew. And so they have all these black SUVs showing up to pick up the film crew for the airport because it's a union show, and there's actually a union rule that certified drivers have to shuttle a union film crew around. You have to have union drivers. So union drivers in Ohio are like limo drivers. So we get in the limo with this guy. So I've got family that just showed up. I don't know if you can hear that. It's pretty loud.
That's okay.
We've got this limo driver who shows up. This dude is straight up like Tulsa King. Like, he is retired mob from New Jersey. Like, he sounds like a character from The Sopranos. And the whole shoot, we're going like, we were helping this family that was on hard times, and it's emotional and it's raw and it's everything that like Ellen loves to do. She's very giving, but the whole time the crew is like, but what about that limo driver, dude? Like, that guy's killed some people, right? Like that dude is totally a retired hitman hiding out in rural Ohio. It was the most surreal. Just like, this dude is tattooed and jacked. And with this, like, thick, it's like, fucking, blah, 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 like this. I was like, who is this guy?
That's amazing.
So, yeah, that's most unexpected. But I've been super blessed. I've been all over the world. And I've just met some really cool people. And there's never been a place that I've gone to. The beauty about traveling for work is you're not there on a 5-day vacation. So, oftentimes when we travel for pleasure, we go to the resort, we go to the hotel, and we're limited to like a couple of touristy destinations around that. When you go as a part of a film crew, you spend, a month or 2 months in the place, and you get to know the people. You get to know the local coffee shop. they get to know you, they know your order, and you start to become a part of it. And just like playing soccer with kids in Croatia, like in an alleyway on my way to get coffee in the morning to a shoot, like those are memories that that's worth it all. Like that's a huge part of like why I did this. Like this is a real experience of the human existence, and I'm grateful to storytelling to have given me the opportunity to see these things. So yeah.
So here's a fun one. If you could come in contact with aliens, what would you say to them? What would you say, Nathan?
Love that. Okay. I believe that aliens are real. Okay, but this is even like
yes.
Yes.
100%.
we could totally go down the rabbit hole here, because my question is, and there's no answers, but are they aliens or are they us? Right? Is it us in the future, or is it from another galaxy? Right? Like, have they figured out some form of like, can they send a consciousness back? Like, I love going down this rabbit hole.
So many questions, right?
But what was that documentary that came out like a couple years ago where they interview all the first encounters? Like whatever the contact was, like direct contact, and they talked to the children. There were all those children. Was it Australia or New Zealand, where all those children, like there's like 58 school children walked off the school grounds, and they came face to face with the big eyes. Have you not seen, dude? Okay, we'll talk offline, and I'll try to figure out what documentary this is. It was done really well.
I gotta see that.
They all report that nothing was said. It was telepathic, and the emotional message that they felt from the big eyes, these kids, and all the kids had the same story. So the school counselors, like one by one, interviewed the kids, and the kids all had the exact same story.
Oh shit!
Total trip. And the message was, it was protect this earth. Protect what you have. So I feel like if I was able to talk to him, the first thing that I would say is just like, I'm doing the best I can. Like I'm doing my part.
Yeah.
Like I am so blessed. I love being outdoors. I love just sort of like being at peace with this world. Like I live in Los Angeles for work, but my girlfriend and I are in the mountains. I'm in the desert right now. I like being away from the city center. I like being in quiet, and
that's nice.
So I guess I would just be like, I'm doing what I can, doing the best I can, because that's all we can all do, right? It's like everyone does their part.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'd be like, I recognize how awesome and rare this rock is in this universe, like where we sit in the zone where it's just like a few miles in either direction in our orbit, and this thing is either too hot or too cold, and we don't exist anymore. So it's just love what you have, respect what you have, and do what you can to take care of it. And be like, I'm doing my part, dude. Don't kill me, alien.
That's right. A guilty pleasure of yours.
Ooh, popcorn.
Nice.
I worked in a movie theater in community college, and my mom gave me this cartoon, and I saved it. And the guy's like serving popcorn, and he goes like, "Yeah, like I serve the popcorn, but what I really want to do is direct." And like, this is like 19-year-old Nathan going like, "Yeah, that's me." But yeah, when I worked at the movie theater, they would throw away whatever was left from like the huge popcorn machines at the end of the night.
Right.
And one day I go, can I just take that home? So I think I filled the back of my car with popcorn. like the bag was as tall as me. I walk into this house with this beanbag chair full of popcorn. And my mom was like, no way, dude. Like, no. And I'm like, yeah, I got sick to my stomach. I just ate and I ate and I ate. I love popcorn.
It truly is one of the best foods, in my opinion. That's fantastic.
Garrett and I were in New Mexico shooting a movie last year, and and Garrett goes, "You want popcorn?" I go, "I mean, always." And he goes, "Let's go to see a movie." So
Yeah.
we go to the theater, and I won't tell you what movie was playing, but we're
Okay.
in the middle of nowhere in this small town called Socorro, New Mexico, which is beautiful, but we're out there. And they have
Yeah.
this beautiful little like one screen theater, and we walk in and we buy movie tickets just to go inside and buy a bag of popcorn. And we sat there and we ate our bag of popcorn, and then after 30 minutes he was like, let's get out of here. And then we left. It's just like, so yeah, he and I both love popcorn, man. It's like, want some popcorn? It's like, yeah, let's go get some popcorn.
I couldn't believe that you guys actually pour butter straight on top of the popcorn.
I don't do that.
I hadn't seen
That's
that before.
weird. Yeah.
It's not a normal thing?
Because
we don't do that.
It's a normal thing. Nothing against people who like butter on popcorn. I don't like it because it's like greasy. It's like, no, it's too, ugh.
And it's not crunchy anymore. Nah.
I don't like
Kind
it.
of
Just
ruins the
like-
texture.
Just
Yeah.
salty
Yeah.
popcorn, and I'm a happy boy.
Yeah, I don't like, flavored popcorn. Just give me the
No.
normal stuff.
No.
Normal stuff,
Have
salt,
you ever had-
done.
Yeah. So have you ever had the kettle corn though?
Kettle corn.
It's like it's where they bake it with sugar. They pop it with
No.
sugar in there.
You know, the open one.
As I'm saying it, I'm going like, that's so American. Just more sugar on it. It's like the most American thing. Yeah, no, but I'm with you. It's like just salt. When I make it at home, I just put like a little bit of Himalayan sea salt, and I use coconut oil. Again, like I'm a nerd. I told you.
Oh,
So it's like
oil.
coconut oil. Yeah, coconut oil. Because otherwise,
Yes.
like it just gets too. If it's like canola oil or anything else, like it's too heavy and you get sick to your stomach. So I use a little bit of coconut oil, and then I pre-salt the oil. So when they pop in like salty oil,
Same.
and then it's just like a little bit across the top, and it's like done.
I just do microwave popcorn.
Ah, that's
Which is great
nonsense.
too. There's some awesome ones. But
There are
if
some
you
good ones
ever,
here.
if you can go like on Amazon, Orville Redenbacher makes like a little stovetop popper where you put the kernels and the oil in, and then you just like spin it yourself.
That's pretty good.
I'm telling you, $30, it'll change your life. So
It's
just
true.
for what it's worth, Christopher, and it's worth checking out.
Oh, there you go.
There you go.
So, can you recall what was your the scariest moment of your life?
There was a moment where I got really freaked out. I don't know about scariest moment of my life, but I was on set in late 2020, shooting a small action film, and my dad's a pilot. He never stopped flying during the pandemic, and he's my father, so he's in his 60s, right? And we all know like who was more susceptible to COVID-19. And I'm on set, I'm working my butt off, and my mom is just calling me. And I was like, your dad's sick. And he got the fever like in the cockpit, like while flying the plane. Like it happened
shucks.
so fast. And so the co-pilot was able to land the plane. He had this like crazy fever. They flew him to the hospital. Like she met him at the hospital, and I'm like on set going like, do I keep working? Like what? I can't do anything. I'm just going like, this is like, I'm never gonna get to say goodbye to my dad. Like he's like, he was deteriorating so fast, and it's so crazy. But he ended up having a staph infection. It wasn't COVID, but it was one of those. I don't know if you've seen but staph infections are insane, and people die within 48 hours. If you get a staph infection in the wrong place, like if it gets into your bloodstream, if it goes into your brain, it eats through your skin. You get like necrosis flesh, where like the flesh is just dying and it just goes. So that was the closest that my father's ever been to passing, and that was just a weird moment where you're just like helpless. There's nothing I can do, and it's just like I'm here working and nobody knows or really cares. And it's like. But as far as like, I don't know, like film stuff working, any time where I've been scared has been like the most exciting, like those are the fun moments. And if I die making a movie, that's just an awesome gravestone. It's like, we were shooting previs for Avatar in the Bahamas, and Steve Brown, who's Garrett's assistant stunt coordinator, was like, let's go shark diving. I was like,
Oh.
well, that sounds terrifying. He's like, dude, if we get eaten by sharks while working on Avatar, come on. Like, we're famous, like, forever, for all time. So I can find this picture too, but there's like a picture of us underwater. We like took the regulators out of our mouths, like, with sharks like all around us. So yeah, I don't know, like scary stuff on film sets, it's always just like, I don't know, like it's just, that's exciting. The stuff that scares me is just like, you know, didn't get to say goodbye to my family. I guess that's what freaks me out. But
what would you say is your favorite song of all time?
Favorite song?
Or favorite band, or?
Well, one of my favorite bands of all time right now has to be Hiatus Coyote. Do you know Hiatus Coyote?
No,
they're actually
I think I do.
They're actually from New Zealand. Let me see.
Okay.
Oh.
Hiatus Coyote is from.
What style?
From no, they're from Australia. They're from Melbourne.
Oh, really?
Oh shit!
I hang my head in shame.
It's an Australian jazz funk band formed in 2011, and the lead singer is mind-blowingly insane, and her name is Napalm. She's a badass, dude. Napalm. She's an absolute badass. They're amazing. But yeah, Hiatus Coyote. I love jazz, you know, because I was in a jazz band again, like as a child growing up and everything. Yeah. But their stuff is like jazz funk. I don't know if you guys ever listened to the Los Angeles public radio station KCRW, but like some of the best DJs in the world, and they just scour the universe for music you've never heard. So I'm always getting introduced to crazy stuff, and they started playing this band, and it was like several tracks in a row over several months that I kept Shazamming, and the same band name kept popping up, and I was like, who is this band, dude? It's like every track on this album is like, I'm like, what? And it's just so interesting. And so anyway, I love Hiatus Coyote. I love that game where people say, like, if you could throw a concert where it's like, what would your 3 acts be and what's the venue? Have you guys ever played that game?
No.
Yeah, Hiatus Coyote would be up there, but then also, you know, it would be some of the great film composers, you know, conducting some of the great Hollywood symphonies. Like, so I like jazz, funk, hip hop, love that stuff. But also, like, I was just listening to Dave Gruzin's score for The Goonies yesterday, and there's just, when was the last time you listened to the soundtrack for The Goonies? Like, there's some magic in there, dude. Like, you want to get inspired, you want to like remember what it's all about and why we love movies. Listen to, you know, when like little Sean Astin is like talking to One-Eyed Willie, and like the score for it is just like, oh my god, like I'm a kid again. Like, it's just magical. So yeah, eclectic, but
that's wicked.
Yeah, here's an interesting one. Does pineapple belong on pizza?
That's a good question.
Who am I to say?
What's your preference?
I mean, forever I was a strict pepperoni only guy.
Okay.
Nice.
And then I've been exploring some really cool pizzerias in the Long Beach, California area. And there is this brewery called Dutch's Brew House in Long Beach, California, and it has the best pizza I've ever had in my entire life. And their pizzas are eclectic, and their flavors are incredible. And then what? I also just had something. What did I just have? Oh yeah, my girl and I, we went to Whistler for New Year's up in Canada, British Columbia, to go skiing.
Oh shit!
And I love eating pizza after a day of skiing. And we go in, and you know, and they're all just like, you know, just ski dudes making pizza at night, right? For other ski dudes. And it's like, we got bored. We put pickles on the pizza. Do you want that? I was like, sure, why not?
Sure.
So I had pickles on a pizza.
Pickles?
Yeah.
Yeah, I had pickles on a pizza.
I've had that before.
And one dude behind the counter was like, that's gross. You're messed up for even eating that. But then the dude who made it, he's just like, what's so weird about it? Like, I don't know. Like, we had pickles. We tried it out. And I was like, it's not terrible. Like, it's not the worst thing I've ever had. So, but yeah, I think like if it's like nothing beats a really awesome pepperoni pizza,
Yes.
but I am super down to try your eclectic, bizarre combination of flavors. And if that includes pineapple, then bring it on. Pineapple
Yeah.
away.
Popcorn on
That's
a
a
pizza.
good answer.
Popcorn on a pizza?
Yeah.
Okay, well, all right. Well, let's talk about. Okay, hold on. How long is that? So, do you like sprinkle the popcorn on at the last minute? Because greasy popcorn sounds gross.
Yeah.
So,
It sounds gross, but it
I
also
would-
sounds good too.
well, what about this, Christopher? What if I took a bite of the pizza and then while the pizza's still in my mouth, I like toss back a handful of popcorn and then like paired the flavors?
That could work.
Yeah.
That could work.
We could do that.
That could work.
And then like, do you drink beer?
I do.
Not really, but yeah.
Not really, because then it would be like, okay, so it's like a bite, and then you've got to like, it's either like a wine or a beer. Like, what are you pairing to like wash it down? And then like those three flavors are going to work together. Like,
Yeah.
I think we have something here. I think that we could probably build the coolest. Like, what if we opened a theater and we just played like it's Mortal Kombat on loop, and it's just like eclectic drinks, popcorn, pizza, snacks. Like, I think you guys.
Yeah, and I think it could be
that-
called WTF. What do you think? You never know
Okay,
what you're going to
Nathan?
get.
You just
Nathan,
never know.
Christopher, we got to make this a reality.
I think so.
Come on.
I do. Okay. Weird things about me. I'm super passionate about food, and if well, it's two things. If the film thing doesn't work out for me, and like I just can't get a job anymore, or if I become so successful at it that like I don't have to work all the time at it, I want to open a restaurant because I love food.
Nice.
I think it'd be so cool to do something. I think that a kitchen is the closest to a film set. They're both subjective artistic mediums, you know, and they're dictatorships, right? Like the chef is God. The director is God, right? There's no democracy in a kitchen. It's just like, that's burned, get the fuck out of here, right? So I would love to go and like work a kitchen and be in that world. And I want to make like a breakfast restaurant. Well, I'm not going to tell my idea. I don't want the world to know my idea.
That's your baby. That's your baby. Yeah.
I'm going to say
One day it may happen.
Yeah.
It may happen.
Yeah.
That's it.
But I'm down to do a WTF Mortal Kombat
Yes!
pizza popcorn kitchen with Marcus
Hell yeah.
and Christopher. That sounds badass.
Yeah.
I think I've got my dinner sorted for tonight. I'm going to try it out. Pepperoni pizza and popcorn.
Some popcorn.
All right. And final question. What's
Yeah.
the best piece of advice you've ever been given that's really stuck with you over the years?
Maybe something Garrett said to you. Maybe something your family has said that's always stuck.
Yeah, there's a lot. I guess I would just share with something that like is just like a mantra for me, I guess. I don't remember who said it. I think it may have been like a DIT. I guess it'd be like a wish for everyone. The greatest curse is to not embrace your gift. And by that same token, I would wish for everyone to know their power.
Mm-hmm.
It's a bit open-ended, but you know, I think that if you can sit with yourself, and I'm talking to myself here, like I'm not preaching to anybody. I'm talking with you, not for you or to you. But it's like, it's so hard to balance what you want for yourself and where you can see yourself going in your career, in your personal life, and then where you're at. And so to just sit there and love yourself, know your gift, embrace your gift, and lean into your gift is to know your power. And I think that if everyone can do that, then you can find a sense of peace. And I think in that sense of peace, you can fully contribute to your society. So that's what I try to do for myself, at least.
Very well said.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay, Nathan. Well, man, this has been a podcast that is definitely memorable. It's been so much fun. I cannot thank you enough for being here. Before we go, Is there anywhere that people could follow you on social media? And lastly, is there any current project you're working on, or just anything you'd like to promote at this time?
Garrett and I are making a film together. This will be his. If he's working on some really exciting projects right now, this will be one of his first unit directors. So he's been a second unit director to everyone. We just did Way of Water. Garrett just did the remake of Roadhouse with Doug Liman, and I'm going to be the cinematographer to shoot, his first movie where he is the director.
Yeah,
so
nice.
Excited about that.
That's huge.
So we're working on that this year. And then just follow me on Instagram. I'm not I'm not like a crazy social media person. I'm not good about posting every day or whatever that stuff is.
Yeah.
But there's pictures of my life and things that make me happy. I share them with my friends on there. So so I've got that's just
Nice.
at Nathan Haugaard. It's my full name. Yeah.
All right, man. Well, it's been a delight. Thank you for joining us today, combatants. This one will always be recognized as one of our most memorable episodes. We got some great content, but most importantly, we were joined by such a great guest and such a nice guy on top of that. Be sure to support Nathan. He's got a lot of fun stuff ahead of him. On his Instagram, he's got some stunning photography, and ultimately, Kamidogu is very much looking forward to monitoring his career. Tell your friends about Kamidogu. We have been so insanely busy as of late. We got lots cooking right now. Tell us in the comments on what you thought of some of the reveals today. Is this unreleased series something that you're dying to see? If it is, let's unite as the passionate fans we are and spread the word across the communities. If interest is heavy and the right people see it, anything is possible, and they might be inclined to release this thing into the wild. We love our fans, and we appreciate the support. Have a fabulous day, my friends. You know how it goes. Have fun, stay safe, and
Stay flawless.